Order up.
Caribbean Kitchen, Foods offer 7 unique blends of premium, low-sodium Jamaican seasoning that will add a burst of flavor to your dishes. Our authentic all-natural Jamaican seasonings are a game changer when it comes to adding a burst of flavor to your dishes. Our products are kosher, all-natural, contains ingredients that are gluten-free and GMO-free. Our seasonings are handcrafted with the highest quality ingredients. We source our ingredients from the Caribbean to capture the authentic taste of the islands. Unleash your creativity in the kitchen and savor the taste of the Caribbean with our spice blends. Enjoy our variety of seasonings that are flavor-packed to deliver the best taste for your dishes. Get ready to create delicious meals that will excite your taste buds and leave your guests asking for more. Try our exclusive curry and jerk seasonings for an extraordinary cooking experience. Our blends are an excellent choice for chicken, meat, fish, and vegan dishes. Add a burst of flavor to your cooking with our top quality Jamaican seasonings. Grab one of our bundles and enjoy the taste of the islands.
Shalom, family. It's your brother Benayah Ben Israel. And can I tell you something? This is something epic. The first of its kind. A monumental event of historical proportions. You see, the African Israelite Justice Foundation is hosting an event in Charleston, South Carolina, November the 15th through the 17th, called the My History, My Heritage Empowerment Summit, in partnership with Gullah Geechee Tours to provide a once-in-a-lifetime conference experience. On November the 15th through the 17th of this year, Israelites all around the world will gather where the sun turned into darkness and the moon did not give her light, and the sign of the Son of Man did appear in heaven. The My History, My Heritage Empowerment Summit will offer historical tours both day and night by the one and only Gullah Geechee Tours. We also plan to offer authentic Gullah Geechee cuisine by the granddaughter of world-renowned Gullah Geechee cuisine chef, Emily Meggett. We also plan to host a beach or park Sabbath day service and fellowship, culminating with an African Israelite Justice Foundation conference in the heart of Charleston, on the historical grounds of an African Israelite resting place with a replica ship and a plantation house. You see, to know where you're going, you have to know where you've been and learn how we can repair the breaches in the walls of Jerusalem together and help defend our heritage, our history, and by the grace and mercy of the Most High Yah, be empowered to victory. Hallelujah. Well, family, come on out and join us in Charleston, South Carolina, November the 15th through the 17th, and be a part of this unforgettable weekend where history, heritage, and empowerment converge. Well, hope to see you there, Israel. Take care and shalom.
Shalom, shalom, Israel. Shalom, shalom, family. Hopefully everyone's doing too, or hopefully everyone's doing well going into Shabbat. Hope everyone's ready. You got your food ready. You got your scriptures ready. And your mind ready. Hallelujah. All right, well, hey, Mr. McCall, if we could, please, let's just do a quick sound check. Quick sound check. If my sound sounds okay, let me turn the volume down here. There we go. Yeah, if my volume sounds okay, Ms. McCall, family, if you could please just put a 1 in the chat. Just want to make sure everything's good on my end. Oh, thank you. I see ones in the chat. Thank you, Ms. McCall. Thank you, family. Well, all right, family. Oh, hey, before I forget, just a quick update on the conference. So for those of you all who are interested in joining us out at Charleston, South Carolina, we do have the hotels on the website. So if you're looking to go ahead and book your hotels, we were able to get some great rates, and these are great hotels as far as cleanliness, as far as service. I think I've stayed at some of these hotels as well. If you don't know me, family, I'm a big stickler about hotels. I personally use TripAdvisor, and if the hotel doesn't have 4 stars, I'm not staying in it. So we hooked you up with the same hotels that we would put our families in, and so you'll most high willing, you'll have a great time. But we have a outstanding agenda program for you guys. So for anyone that's going to be able to make it out there, outstanding program, family. We're going to have legal representation to kind of walk you through. Family, you won't believe some of the stuff that happens in the legal realm that you need to be aware of when operating just out here in Babylon, in the daughter of Babylon. So you definitely want to get caught up on that alone, but also know what's going on in our community, and also how we can also come together to make a difference. Praise the Most High. Hallelujah. And, of course, we're going to have multiple musical guest singers out there. Some of the, phenomenal, powerful praise and worship singers that I've seen in our community, they are going to be there. We didn't necessarily have them on the flyer or anything like that, but praise be to the Most High. They wanted to be a part of this too. And, Most High bless them and bless their families for coming out and participating. So it's going to be awesome, family. It's going to be awesome. So all that aside, if you get a chance, go ahead and get your hotels. We do have a pretty cheap rates locked in. So if you go in there, there's a link on the website. So if you click on that link, it should take you to the conference, hotel registration page, which should be a discounted rate on, compared to what the hotel normally charges. So that's that. All right, Ms. Picard. Well, let's get down to business. So let me just flip my screen here. So for those of you all that are joining in, this is a series. I've done a series on 100 proof before, and more, for the most part, it was kind of theoretical, partly documentary. But in this one, I just kind of want to do something in a bit of a lecture format, and also because lecture format actually gives you the leeway of giving you additional information. And what I tell people is that whenever we do videos, or especially whenever I do videos, what you see on the screen, especially like if it's a theatrical type product, right? You're getting a small portion of the information that goes into it, right? Because literally, like for every slide that's put on on display, there are multiple references in the background to support that slide. So, but what a lecture format allows me to do is to give you more information, because there's not necessarily a script other than the PowerPoint slides that I put together. But, we do have the ability to kind of go off, deviate from the program, so to speak. So to that end, family, this has been a subject that, most high willing, I had been meaning to touch on for the longest. And this has to do with the proof of Israel. It has to do with the proof of our existence, because I've seen I've seen things out there just like you have, family, on the internet, both recent and old, where people talk about, oh, well, Israel didn't exist. Well, there's no proof of Israel over in the land, or there's no proof of Israel even over in Egypt. It's all made up. And what I'm going to show you today, family, and I caught on to this a while back, but I just hadn't, it's my bad for not putting this in a video. Maybe I should have put this in a video a long time ago. But what I've caught on to, family, is the hustle. Like, what you'll see is that people that say things like, well, hey, there's no such thing as Israel over in the land, or there's no such thing as Israel or proof of Israel ever over in Egypt. Like, you'll know that, Most High willing, after this presentation and after, the presentations to come, because this is just the first. The way I'm planning this out, family, is that this is just the first of many presentations on 100 proof. Because what we're going to do, Most High willing, we got the time. We're going to go through all the proofs. Well, not all of them, but a good deal of the proofs, including archaeology, because that's one of the things that I really haven't touched on, but I have a lot of information on. So I want to get that out to Ms. Picard. I want to put that out to family. So I kind of been sitting on some of this stuff, and some of this stuff has been recent as well, recent discoveries as well. So, but it's just going to be a mixed mash of both of that stuff. And with this first episode, or this first release, what we're going to do is that we're going to start with the Lachish relief, and this is something that we've touched on before. However, I'm going to show you that there's way more information about this Lachish relief than you ever could have thought, right? I don't know if I've seen anyone, that's going to put this information together the way that you're going to see it this evening. But it's all tied together. It all ties back to your history, family. And what most high willing, after this presentation, you'll see that hands down, this one has all the proof to back it up. All the proof to back it up. So again, the common thing that you see with naysayers and critics about Israel is no proof. Like, that's one of the things that I've heard people like. It's funny. I've heard this gentleman called Manfred Betek. He's one of the four. He's a really good Egyptologist. He does a lot of the research and the digging and the cataloging of artifacts and stuff like that. But there's a show called Patterns of Exodus where he's being interviewed on the Patterns of Exodus. And so the Patterns of Exodus, there were multiple versions of the Patterns of Exodus. So the very first one that came out, they interviewed Manfred Betek, and they interviewed him, and Manfred Betek was like, well, there's no evidence of Israel over in the land, over in Egypt. They weren't ever there. Don't get them confused with these other people, these other Semitics that we do see there, right? And that was the whole thing, is that he was literally digging up artifacts in what he called a Semitic settlement in Egypt, right? I mean, he was digging up houses, he was digging up pottery, he was digging up corn. He saw like the seeds of vegetables and produce and all this other stuff, bones of cattle and all this other stuff. He had all this evidence, but then he turned around and faced the camera and said, "Oh no, that's no proof. No Israel here. Don't look here." And actually, in the Patterns of Evidence, the whole purpose of the movie, of the documentary, was to show the audience that the evidence is there, but they're just saying that it doesn't exist because of the time. Because the time, and I'm going to run a quick video here in a moment, but what you'll see is that the reason why these skeptics even can remotely deny Israel over in Egypt has to do with timing. And it's funny because they create the time. Like they're the ones that say, well, Israel should be over in Egypt around about this time. And then when they look over in Egypt around the time that they give for, the Israelites being over in Egypt, then they don't find anything. They say, well, we think Israelites should be over in Egypt around 1200 BC. And then they look over in the history of Egypt, and they're not finding any artifacts. They're not finding any dwelling places. They're not finding any, remains or of any sort. So they say, well, see, Bible's made up. Bible came from someplace else, right? It was based off of some Egypt stuff, right? That's what they say. But but again, family, what I want you to know is that's false, family. That's false. And a lot of people that are engaging in this, that you see, whether it be on YouTube or whatever, they are misleading folks when they say that. So what do you see on your screen? You'll see Egypt, you see the Exodus, and you see Israel and Canaan, right? And most high willing, family, as we go through this presentation, what we're going to touch on archaeology, right? We're going to touch on structures, pottery, even money. Where your shekels at, family? Where your shekels at? The written history, right? The written history and more. So that's what we're going to, most high willing, what we're going to go through. And let's see, do I want to touch on this right now? Let's, you know what? Let's run our video right quick, because I don't want to deviate too much from what we just talked about. So let's run a video of what I call "It Doesn't Add Up." It doesn't add up.
Yet, he clearly sees archaeological evidence of the biblical Joseph, Jacob, and the early Hebrews in the Nile Delta region of Egypt. Roll believes that many Egyptologists have missed evidence for the Exodus because they have been looking for it in the wrong time period. While most scholars think that the events of the Exodus happened in the New Kingdom, David Roll's view would put the Exodus in an entirely different period, the earlier Middle Kingdom, where he claims evidence for the Exodus can be seen.
After this 12-year investigation, I too have come to see that the Middle Kingdom was the only place where a sequential pattern of evidence matching every step of the Exodus events can be found.
Bryant Wood and Charles Ayling believe the Exodus occurred around 1450 BC, using the conventional dates for Egypt and Canaan. They believe a case can be made for.
And Mr. Picard, what I may do, I didn't realize that I had the music in there, so for just to kind of avoid any copyright, I may skip a little bit of this. Let me fast forward a little bit.
But the only place that I saw a pattern matching all the steps was in the Middle Kingdom, not the New Kingdom.
Yep, fair use.
The debate over the dates of ancient history is intensifying, while the conclusions of those who support major adjustments differ in their details. They're all of the same mind that these things are worth investigating, and that chronology is not yet fixed and is not yet final. Researchers like Roll and Bimson believe the main problem lies in these lesser-known dark periods of Egypt's past. They think scholars have miscalculated their lengths, causing distortions in the dates for everything before them. The biggest suspect is this very long third dark period, which new information suggests has been overinflated by centuries. If it were reduced, the history of Egypt would need to move forward in time.
And basically, family, just the long and the short of it is that the timeline of Egypt has been adjusted, and they've inserted these blocks, right, just to so that it can line up to whatever they want it to line up with, right? But just know that it's not a concrete thing that they've worked out, right? I mean, even to this day, people are still debating the timeline of Egypt, right? And what this particular researcher / documentary is talking about is that there are gaps in Egypt's timeline that, you know, that if you were to adjust it, then all these different timelines would line up. But what he's going to show you is that because there's Egyptologists insert these huge gaps in their history, it messes up everyone else's history, because everyone else's history is tied into Egypt. When I say everyone else, I mean, like, you know, Rome and Israel and all the nations that have, you know, historical interaction with Egypt. Their timelines are now messed up because these Egyptologists have inserted these gaps.
For many years, I was intimidated by the giant of Egypt's dating. But what made me take a second look was when I learned that it's been necessary to insert gaps into the histories of all the surrounding civilizations in order to match the dating of Egypt's third dark period. Yet the archaeology of these cultures does not seem to support such gaps. Something was wrong.
My whole thesis is that we have to look for the Israelite sojourn and slavery and Exodus in a much earlier period than is normally believed. So most Egyptologists will place the Exodus in the 19th dynasty. I would place it at the end of the 13th dynasty, when we have the archaeological evidence that matches the story. They have no archaeological evidence to match the story in the 19th dynasty. So the problem here is they then say it's fictional. They say that the story doesn't really happen. So you place it in the wrong time, then you argue it never happened. So you place it in the wrong time, then you argue it never happened. So you place it in the wrong time, then you argue it never happened.
So you place it in the wrong time, then you argue it never happened.
The Exodus being this critical event, it's important for us to try to accurately date it. And of course, we've talked in previous episodes about the biblical data.
Now, again, family, the purpose of showing you these video clips is to show you that, you know, this has been discussed, right, at nauseum, right, and you know, the last quote that you heard was that, you know, if you place it in the wrong time, and then they'll turn around and say that it never happened. Like that's the playbook. That's the playbook that
that these naysayers are using to say that Israel was never in Egypt. And it's one of those things where they create the timeline and then they create, the scenario where they can then turn around and say that Israel was never there.
Those key chronological markers in Scripture that point us to understand when that event occurred. We want to talk today about some of the archaeological data.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'll set up the biblical context, right? We got the Israelites in the Egyptian Delta, the land of Goshen. Genesis 47:11 says this is where they settled. They were there for several centuries, and then they departed at the time of Moses. So the land that they're in, is in the Delta. It's near the one of the branches of the Nile River. So it's not in a desert, as it's often portrayed, but it's in this rich, beautiful land. And we've got tons of archaeology that's been discovered in this area. And we've got tons of archaeology that's been discovered in this area. And we've got tons of archaeology that's been discovered in this area.
And that's another thing, family. One of the things that is often overlooked or is often not even spoken of is the archaeology, like the archaeological evidence to support Israel in these certain places that we're gonna go through, most high willing, is enormous. It's enormous, and the ones that we're putting out is it's not even 10% of what's there, right? Especially like what I'm going to review. We're just scratching the tip of the iceberg on this. So just know that a lot of archaeology to support Israel in these areas. Like I tell people, it's like if you were to go to the park today and spend your whole day at the park with your family, and you guys were to go out there and have a picnic and barbecue and have food, throw the frisbee around, and then when it's time to leave, the thing is, family, you have left a footprint because while you were there, you ate, right, and then you threw your food in the trash. So you have relics in the trash can that we can track. Then there were sightings of you as you were going about the park. There were other people at the park at the same time. They saw you throwing the frisbee. They saw you eating. And so maybe they wrote about you or maybe they didn't, but there were other accounts of you in that area. Likewise, family, with Israel, wherever they are, we would expect to have these relics, right, proving that they're there, right, whether it be dwelling places, because they had to live somewhere. So they got to have houses. So where are the Israelite houses? They had commerce. So where's the money? Where's the shekels? Where can you find shekels today? Israel, we're all, we're followers of Torah. Where is the Torah found today? Where are the Dead Sea Scrolls that everyone's talking about? Where can you find the Dead Sea Scrolls? Where did the Dead Sea Scrolls come from? Right. The seals. They're often when letters went back and forth, the letters went back and forth in different forms and formats. Sometimes it was on that papyrus paper, closed with the seal. Where are those seals found? Or sometimes they would put these things in. Forgive me if I mess up the name. It's like ostraca or something like that. Basically, it's broken pottery, where you would find this ancient writing in it, like whether it be Paleo Hebrew or some sort of cuneiform script. Where's that found today, family? And most importantly, family, where is the name of your Yahuwah written? Where is that found today? Because remember, the Most High said, I will write my name in that place, right, where he's going to dwell. So where is his name found? What land is his name found in, family? I wouldn't play around with that one, family. But in either case, family, to find Israel, you would find all these things related to Israel. But let's keep going, family.
So why does this matter? We looked at 6 biblical passages that all pointed us to the middle of the 15th century, which would be the 18th Egyptian dynasty. That's pretty overwhelming. And so you would think if someone's going to take a date other than that date, they must have really strong archaeological evidence. If it's going to trump that, where does the archaeological evidence point? Yeah. Well, that's what we're going to see is, in fact, it also lines up in the 15th century BC. Well, once again, after Bitak's work in 1990, you can see that there was another palatial district that existed at that time on the Pelusiac branch of the Nile. Now, to your question about the abandonment at Avaris, this is exactly what BTAC found, that in the middle of the 15th century, which would be the 18th dynasty, that there is a very clear abandonment phase at this majorly important site on this branch of the Nile. So it's a very important site. Logically, it makes no sense to abandon it. What happened there?
And then, all right, and just to kind of land back, or just to add to what he said there, family. So he's quoting Manfred BTAC, and again, if anyone has quoted any quotes from Manfred BTAC, make sure it's the most recent one, because even Manfred BTAC has kind of shifted his narrative a little bit, right? Because at first he was saying, "Oh no, there's no proof of Israel over in Egypt," and those were the ones, the quotes that you can find of him, maybe like 10 years ago. But then recently he said, "Oh, well, you know what? There is a proof of Israel over in Egypt. That we can find them, and actually there's this place over in Egypt called, well, I guess we call it Goshen, but back then it was called Geshem." He's like, "Yeah, there's a place called Geshem, and we find all these Hebrew names all over these places. Well, yeah, it just makes sense that the Israel's there, right?" So even he has changed. So just want to put that out there.
And then the culture, the material culture, is not Egyptian per se.
No, it's different.
It's different. It's people from Canaan.
Right, they're Asiatics.
We call them Asiatic. They refer to Canaan as retinue.
As retinue.
Is that right? So they're foreigners.
Yes.
Living there.
That's right.
Now, what does the Bible say about who's living there at this time? Foreigners are living there.
Foreigners are living there.
And there's a great number of them.
He dealt with the issue of carbon dating, and this is bigger than we can explore, but I'll just mention it in passing, that he's noted an offset in the carbon dating at this time, beginning at this abandonment phase, that it no longer matches as you go further back in history. It's not matching the other metrics. So up to this point, the pottery matches the carbon dating, the glyptic remains match the carbon dating, the things that we would normally historically use to date a site. But from here, it begins to stray, and this becomes very important because when we start trying to date the Exodus and Conquest and using carbon as a metric, that's problematic when we get to a site like Jericho. So not to go down that rabbit trail, but I'll just say he does three important things at Tel El Daba.
Yeah. Now, and just to touch on the family, like I said, most God willing, we will do a specific a session dedicated to Jericho alone. But just to tell your family that Jericho too is one of those places where, like, I forgot you have multiple people that have done archaeology analysis at that site, right? So and irrevocably, you've had multiple people give different dates as far as when Jericho was destroyed, because one thing they all agree on is that Jericho was destroyed. But the funny thing, family, is especially I think the latest researcher that went over there, or archaeologist went over there, and of course I think she's Ashkenaz, but she went over there and she said, nope, there's no proof of Israel over here, not at Jericho. We don't have any proof of them over in the land. And then I think if this was from the patterns of Exodus, and the guy was asking him, it's like, okay, well, what are you working on? Well, I'm working on Jericho. So what are you finding? Well, I'm finding that the walls fell down. And then the city was destroyed after the walls fell down. Well, that sounds like the Bible, right? So how come that's not the Bible? How come how come you're describing what's found in the Bible, but you're sitting around turning around that Israel was never there? Well, it's because of the date, because the date that Jericho fell. Israel was they weren't here. They weren't supposed to be here yet. This is too early of a date. Again, it goes back to the date. They create this false date or this error date, then they use that to say Israel wasn't there. It's not that the evidence isn't there in the land, or it's not that the fact that there's artifacts to prove Israel. It's just that they use the date to disqualify what's in the ground, or I guess basically what's in the ground, which is the artifacts and the evidence.
So there's a conflict between what the historians, archaeologists say, and what the scientists say in terms of dates in this period. So maybe we'll cover that some other time.
Yeah, that's a whole subject unto itself.
But it shows you how we've got to grapple with all this data and try to show which points to where the data leads best.
Absolutely.
I guess is.
Yeah. So basically, family, if you can understand what they're dealing with, they're saying that it's something that they have to work out. It's not concrete. It's not set in stone, right? They're working through it, family. So for anyone to take the date and run with it and use that as a sole determinator to say that Israel wasn't in a certain place, you can tell that is poor scholarship, or maybe that they have some sort of ulterior motive when they say stuff like that. But let's get back to our slide, family. So again, just wanted to show you that certain things don't add up when you're looking at the wrong time. When you're looking at the right time, you have all these artifacts, you have all the evidence, everything lines up, and there's really no questions about it. And I want to give you just to kind of give you an example, right? So what you're looking at on the screen, you're looking at a TV, and it's connected to speakers, it's connected to a sound system of sorts, maybe a PlayStation, maybe an Xbox, right? Entertainment system, Apple TV, Google Chrome, Cast, whatever, right? But it's connected. You can see all the wires coming from this television on the wall. And what I want you to do is picture that television as Israel, right? Picture that television as Israel. And the things that are connected to it can be Egypt, right? It can be Assyria. It can be Babylon. It could be Rome. Anything that has nation, people, place that has interacted with Israel, they are all connected to Israel. All right. Their history is connected to Israel's history, right? Just like in this TV, the speakers are connected to the sound system or the receiver, and the receiver is connected to the TV. So why are you saying this, Benayah? Well, what I've learned a long time as a programmer, family, and you see the same principle in programming, where if you try to move that TV from where it's at without unplugging it, without unplugging the speakers, without unplugging the sound system, without unplugging the Xbox, PlayStation, Apple TV, and all that stuff, you're going to have a mess on your hands. Without unplugging it from the wall, you're going to have a mess on your hands, right, family? You're going to have speakers tipped over. You're going to have the sound system on the ground. You're going to have the Xbox sign blinking, right? You're going to have the Blu-ray disc on the floor, all that stuff. And so moving that TV is problematic because it's all attached. And so likewise, family, if you try to move Israel, you also have to move Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, and Rome, just like this TV. But just like this TV, family, you have a choice. You can either try to unplug it from the television, which means you're going to attempt to delete the history. You're going to delete it from Torah, right? Or you're going to wholesale move the speakers along with the TV at the same time. Again, that's problematic. And that's one of the things that no one has done. I've seen folks, whenever they try to either say that Israel doesn't exist, right, or Israel isn't the Israel that you think it is, what they never do is touch any of the stuff that Israel is attached to. That's problematic. That's why, I personally don't take it seriously, because if you want to do a serious look or replacement of Israel, you've got to unplug all this stuff. You've got to address that, right? Or else you have an incomplete analysis. But one of the things I'm going to show you, family, is that all these things that are connected to Israel, all these nations, whether it be Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, or Rome, they all have history. Like in their history, they talk about Israel, right? Whether it be Assyria in the Lachish relief that we were talking about, like that's just one place, that of course I run into the ground, right? Because to me, the Lachish relief is one of the easiest things to prove the ethnicity of Israel, because anybody can take a look at that and see that, well, hey, that doesn't look like the people claiming to be Israel today, right? That looks like the so-called Negro when you look at the Lachish relief, like if you're being honest, right? But and that's why I use the Lachish relief ad nauseum. But to a fault, maybe I've given the impression that that's all there is to Lachish. No, what I'm going to show you here, family, is that there's a lot more to Lachish than just the relief. But again, Most High willing, what we're going to do, family, we're going to take a look at all these things that are connected to Israel, and we're going to look at the artifacts, not only in Israel, but also the artifacts in all these other nations that are connected, that their history is connected to Israel, right? So in this, you can't really see, I didn't realize it cut off the wording, but where's your drip? Where, and this was what we talked about earlier, anywhere Israel is, Israel leaves stuff behind. Just like I gave the example before, when you go to the park and you have a barbecue or you have a picnic and you play your music and all this other stuff, you're going to leave residue behind, showing, proving that you were there at the park, whether it be trash in a trash can or, stuff that you left in the grass or the smell of, the sightings of you cooking, grilling and stuff like that. You're going to leave a footprint where you were. And so likewise, wherever Israel is, wherever you think Israel is, it's going to leave a footprint. Again, Israel had commerce. Israel's commerce was the shekel. Where can you find the shekel? Again, Israel has the Torah. Where was the Torah found for Israel? Where's the Dead Sea Scrolls that everyone uses, right, to kind of to check and confirm certain scriptures and stuff? Everyone wants to go back to the Dead Sea Scrolls. Well, where did the Dead Sea Scrolls come from? Where can you find the name of the Most High written on stone that goes back to BC? Where's that? Where are the seals? Like normally when the letters are going out in papyrus and they're closing the papyrus up with the seals, and these seals have Paleo Hebrew on the seal, family. Where can you find the seals? When Yahusha was laid to rest, or when the Israelites as a whole are laid to rest, where can you find those Israelite tombs? Where, like which nation place can you find that? Right. So all these things, family, like I said, wherever Israel is, wherever you believe Israel is, you should find a footprint of Israel. And the first thing that we're going to take a look at, family, in this proof is the Lachish relief. So again, we're going to start off with what we've covered before, but then we're going to go beyond. So of course, Lachish relief is in the London Museum. Just a quick backstory on the Lachish relief, which I've given many times. But Lachish relief is during the time of the Assyrian Empire. Assyria is coming to conquer Israel. They're coming to conquer actually the southern kingdom, right? That's King Hezekiah was the king of Judah at that time, of the king of the southern kingdom at that time. And so when King Sennacherib comes down and he's conquering, he conquers like 40 something cities in the territory of the southern kingdom of Judah, or the Judean cities. And so he's going and he's making his way to Jerusalem. And family, when you look at the backstory of this thing has like Lord of the Rings vibes, like all over the place. Like in Lord of the Rings, how they had the signal fires, right? And how if they had a enemy in the land, these signal fires would light up. Well, picture this, family. They had these signal fires going at that time. And one of the places where they had the signal fires was in the city of Lachish. And you have to forgive me, I forgot the name of the other city, because in the scriptures it talks about how, before Lachish fell, there was one other city that was before Lachish. And so the people in Lachish were monitoring the signal fires of that city. And then they knew that city fell when their signal fires went out. Imagine being back there during that time, family. That had to be ominous and foreboding, knowing that this massive destroying army was just coming through the land, crushing everything. They had already destroyed like 40 something cities in the southern territory of Judah. And they were on their way, family, to Jerusalem. So signal fires goes out. As this is happening, family, there are letters going out. There are seals that are being made. People are talking about it. People are having conversations about it. They're writing it down, sending messages back and forth. Some of the events that you see in the Bible, and I apologize because again I don't have everything I don't have everything in this presentation. I just remember that. But if I remember, we'll put it in there next time. But anyway, family, you just have all this. You have life going on, family. Like all the stuff that you would see. Like if this was a movie, and Steven Spielberg or Lucasfilms, they was putting this thing together. You know how family, like they would drum up the all the lead up of the war of the army coming marching on Jerusalem. Like they would drum all that stuff up. Like it's like Lord of the Rings type stuff, right? But there's life going on at this time, and people are writing about it. So when the Assyrian king Sennacherib comes and he's on his way to Jerusalem, and he finally makes it to Lachish. So Lachish is the second largest city only to Jerusalem, right? It's supposed to be like the second most important city. It's a super fortified city, right? And it's the city just before you get to Jerusalem. In addition to, these reliefs, of course, there were studies that were done, cranial studies that were done. And this is just another proof that we know who these people are. And let me see if I can read this. This is kind of small on my screen, so bear with me just for a second, family. But it says, the lower or main deposit consists of a mass of human bones, the remains of at least 1,500 bodies. Family, this was a massacre. At Lachish, this was a massacre. And it says, as they were pitched in through the hole in the roof, the skulls rolled down from the apex of the pile to the sides of the chamber. And let's see here if I can skip around. It says some bones were partially calcined, suggesting that they were extracted from burnt buildings. And then the next highlighted area says, it is suggested that the ossuary was probably connected with the salvage of Lachish after its partial destruction by Sennacherib, king of Assyria, in 701 BC. All right. And you can see it says, just as paragraph below that says, when the floor was reached, it became clear that the tomb had been previously used as a dwelling. A door had been cut at the northeast, given, erroneously as northwest in the published account corner, connecting the smaller circular tomb with it, which contained 500 bodies discovered in 1934. So, family, they're finding all these bodies associated with this massacre. And there are some other accounts of the bodies, of the bones that they analyzed, and they could tell by looking at the bones that they were in a battle. Like they had injuries on them, right? And let's keep reading. It says, from the style of both chambers, it is certain that they were originally excavated to contain early 15th century burials. Early 15th century burials. And that's a diagram of Lachish. And just to show you that they even went as far as separating the adults, male, female, immature, right? And this is just some of the separation that they did, some of the analysis that they did. But here we go, fam. Let's take a look at this. It says, the relationships of the Lachish series may now be considered. All its closest connections are with the series of the lower Egyptian type. And these are close enough to suggest that the population of Palestinian Palestinian town was entirely or almost completely of Egyptian origin. I mean, didn't Israel come out of Egypt? So now they're finding cadavers or bodies and skulls and bones. And they're saying, hey, these skulls and bones match people that are found in Egypt. And it says the skeletal remains from Lachish is believed to represent people who died about 700 BC. Well, guess what, family? 700 BC, that's when King Sennacherib came through. That's when King Sennacherib destroyed Lachish. So they're saying that the skeletal material from Lachish believed to represent people who died in 700 BC. King Sennacherib. It says, which is the time of the 25th century dynasty in Egypt. The series shows closest resemblance, however, not to the 26th and 30th dynasty series from Giza, but to the early dynastic series from Lower Egypt. So basically, family, they're saying that the population, what they can tell is that these skulls match the older Egyptian population, not the newer ones, but the older Egyptian population. But let me skip ahead, family. Let me go down to the next highlighted section where it says, the relationship suggests that the Lachish population represents descendants of a colonizing group of men and women, which was derived primarily from Upper Egypt. So that's going deep into Africa. Upper Egypt is deep in Africa. And it says, at some time later than the 18th dynasty, and which maintained its type unchanged, free of intermixture until 700 BC. So basically, family, they're saying that the people there, their type remained there unchanged until 700 BC, which was when King Sennacherib came through and just killed everybody, killed or unalive a lot of people, and then took some to, some as prisoners back to Assyria. So just to show you, family, that there was a lot of analysis that was done at this site, right? They really did take a look at those skulls and bones. And really, to me, family, like a lot of these studies are proof positive of who Israel is, right? So what you're seeing on the screen is, if you've heard me use the word dolichocephalic, right? Or dolichocephalic, if I'm saying that right. And that's just the shape of the skull, right? And the shape of the skull, it has, if it's between certain numbers, then it's called dolichocephalic, where you see it says, if it's between 70 and 74.9, it's called dolichocephalic, right? And, of course, the so-called Negro today, his skull, our skull, is called dolichocephalic. So the Negro skull lies in between 70 and 74.9. Well, when they took a look at the Lachish skulls, the Lachish, and what you see in green, is 74.3. All right, and it says, all that can be said is that the average cephalic index of both series of unsexed skulls is about 76. The Lachish male, I'm sorry, family, the context of what we're reading is that now what they're doing, family, is that they're comparing the Lachish skulls with present day populations. So they're trying to figure out, so all right, so we got these Lachish skulls and we know what the measurements are. Who do they match up with? And, of course, if you're in what folks will call the Middle East, you take them out and you compare them to people in the Middle East to see if it matches. So basically what these studies are finding, family, they're taking these skulls out and the cephalic index is matching the so-called Negro, but it's not necessarily matching the people that's in that area. So let me jump down to the next highlighted region where it says, there are no adequate data for ancient Jewish skulls from any locality. It says the longest modern series representing this people is one published by Professor, I'm not going to even try to pronounce that name. It says, of 17th century Jews buried in Prague. The average cephalic index for 53 male skulls is 82. Well, that's way off. It says, which is sufficient to show that there can be no close connection with the Lachish people of 74.3, or with any of the ancient Egyptian groups for which the highest cephalic index was 76. So basically, family, they're showing that, well, you know what? These people that are there now, their skulls are different. And this is why, family, even when, folks are trying to paint certain people over in that area as Israelites, and they'll say things like, well, they just recently turned light skinned, but they used to be dark skinned, but they're light skinned today, but they were dark skinned, and which matches up with what you see on the Lachish relief. But this is where this is kind of like checkmate, because the Lachish skulls, the cephalic index is in the 70s. It's like 74.3 or 74. I forgot what do you say. 70 to 74.9, I think is the range, right? And so that's why we can say definitively, using science, using data, that the ancient Israelites when you look at the data just by itself, it matches the so-called Negro. The people that are in the ground today match your skulls, family. In the ground, in that area today, they match your skulls. And just to drive the point home, what you're seeing at the top, you'll see other cephalic indexes. And these are just samples that these other researchers have taken from other populations. It says all the remaining series of Jews in Palestine represent the Samaritans, the sources, and the mean indices being, and this is like the breakdown of it. So basically, they're saying that these other highlighted ones represent modern day Jews, but notice the cephalic index: 72.6, 77.6, 79.1, capers 77.2, 78.1. That is way out of the range of dolichocephalic. That is way out of the range of the Lachish skulls, which are 74.3. Not the same people, family. Not the same people. All right, so that's just briefly touched on some of the things that we've touched on before as far as the Lachish relief. But one of the things I want to show you, family, and I really hadn't pointed this out, you can barely see it, and I don't think you can see my mouse on the screen, but there is actually, like, you see the people bowing down, right, with short, nappy, woolly hair. These are the people of the tribe of Judah. And another thing we're going to talk about, people, our family, is you see these people with the Assyrians have these pointy hats. We're going to get into these pointy hats and how that ties into your history. But we'll get to that at a different date. But above the people with the pointy hats, you'll see this a rectangle area that has cuneiform script, right? Cuneiform script, because there were some folks that said, well, those were Canaanites. Those weren't the Israelites that were being paraded around, right? Just in case, someone's looking at that and they may try to say, well, that's not Judah. That's not Israel. Well, there's a cuneiform script that's right above it that tells exactly what's going on. And actually, make sure I got my, just trying to, bear with me just for a second, family. Just want to make sure I got the translation of that cuneiform script. Oh, don't tell me I left it out. All right, hang on, family. Let me see if I got it. Yep, I left it out. All right, hang on. Let me grab it, family. All right, so I won't be able to show it on the screen, or maybe I can. All right, so let me deviate from the script. I'm going to try to. All right, so I'm going to exit out of full screen, and then I'm going to try to share. Let's see, share screen, and see if it'll let me share this picture. Screenshot photos. Allow. All right. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. This is that cuneiform script. And the translation of what's in that highlighted area that you see their family. And it says, Sennacherib, king of the world, the king of Assyria, sat on the throne, and the booty of Lachish passed before him. So we know definitively that this is a relief, a depiction of Lachish, because it is literally written on the relief. So literally written on the relief. All right. So just wanted to show you that. All right. So let me just jump back to the slide. So hang on, fam. Let me do this. All right. So that's one proof. So one proof is you got this, you have this writing from Assyria. So remember, if we go back to, back up, let me show you. If we go back to our picture, right, where you have Israel and you have Egypt attached to, Egypt attached to Israel, you have Assyria attached to Israel, you have Babylon and Rome. All of their history is attached to Israel. And the thing is, family, what we're doing with this presentation, I'm showing you that in any of these places that are attached to Israel, in their history, they're talking about Israel. In their history, they're talking about what they look like, where they're located, and what they're doing to them. All right, so we just looked at the one of the King Sennacherib's proofs about Israel. So now we're going to take a look at the Taylor Prism. So not only did when King Sennacherib get back home, that he wanted this whole room in his palace dedicated to talking about how he whooped up on Lachish, he actually wrote it down, right? So this is what was written down on the Lachish Prism, right? And I'm going to show you a video. Let me make sure I have it here. And let's and what basically, family, what he's going to do, he's going to read to you what's on the Taylor Prism, on Sennacherib's Prism. All right, here we go.
As to Hezekiah the Jew, he did not submit to my yoke. I laid siege to 46 of his strong cities, walled forts, and to countless small villages in their vicinity, and conquered them by means of well-stamped earth ramps and battering rams brought near to the walls, combined with the attack by foot soldiers, using mines, breaches, as well as sapper work. I drove out of them 200,150 people, young and old, male and female, horses, mules, donkeys, camels, big and small, cattle, beyond counting, and considered them booty. Himself I made a prisoner in Jerusalem, his royal residence, like a bird in a cage. I surrounded him with earthwork in order to molest those who were in his city's gate. His towns which I had plundered, I took away from his country and gave them over to Mitinti, king of Ashdod, Paddy, king of Ekron, and Silabel, king of Gaza. Thus I reduced his country, but I still increased the tribute and the Katru presents due to me as his overlord, which I imposed later upon him, beyond the former tribute, to be delivered annually. Hezekiah himself, whom the terror-inspiring splendor of my lordship had overwhelmed, and whose irregular and elite troops, which he had brought into Jerusalem, his royal residence, in order to strengthen it, had deserted him, did send me later to Nineveh, my lordly city, together with 30 talents of gold, 800 talents of silver, precious stones, antimony, large cuts of red stone, couches inlaid with ivory, Nimedu chairs inlaid with ivory, elephant hides, ebony wood, boxwood, and all kinds of valuable treasures, his own daughters, concubines, male and female musicians. In order to deliver the tribute to do obeisance as a slave, he sent his personal messenger.
All right. Well, as you can see, family, on this prism, and actually what he read isn't the entire prism. It's just a snippet of the entire prism. Now, keep in mind, so back in the day, family, of course, they didn't have GPS, right? They didn't have Apple Maps to go from one place to the next. But the thing is, family, like with things such as this prism, they literally lay out the route that they took. It goes from city to city. So it's like I started at this city, and I went over here, and I did this. And then I went over here and destroyed these cities. And I went over here and destroyed these people. And based off of this prism alone, this prism shows you where Israel is. This prism shows you location, right? So this is yet another proof, archaeology, via archaeology, of Israel, and of course, it shows you the history with Assyria. But let me show you something else, family, because wait, there's more. It's not the only thing, the only proof. So we showed you the relief. We showed you the archaeology, the analysis that was done on the bones. Showed you that even on the relief, there's like a little a cuneiform script on the relief itself. Talks about, this relief is about Lachish. Then in addition to that, then you have this prism, which is a roadmap of how it's basic Assyrian history. And in this Assyrian history, they're talking about all the nations that they've destroyed, including Israel, right? Because again, this is like a map, right? They didn't have Google Maps back then, but they wrote stuff down as far as where they went and who they destroyed. So, but in addition to this, let me switch back over to my slides here. Let's do this. All right. So in addition to the prism, we have, let's see, excavation at Tel Lachish. And let me expand my screen so I can read it. Have unearthed 2 identical seal impressions. So in addition, to all the stuff we've read so far, now we're going into seals. Like I said, wherever Israel is, there's artifacts and proof of them living and existing in that area, right? Now we're talking about the seals. And it says, there are two seal impressions that scholars believe may belong to the chief steward of Judah's king Hezekiah. This steward, Eliakim, just making sure I pronounce that right. Forgive if I mispronounce it. Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, is referred to in both 2 Kings and the book of Isaiah. So basically, they're finding these seals which match the names of people in the Bible, right? People in the Bible. And written in old, Paleo Hebrew or old Hebrew letters. And again, what I tell people is that, whenever you're doing a comparison, I know we might be deviating a little bit, family, but whenever you're comparing two things, one to another, and we've done this, if you all know, my background is in IT, and we have had to compare products, one product against another, right? And when you do that, we don't just randomly just start looking at each of the different products and each person comes up with their own evaluation. No, we actually create a checklist. So if you're serious about comparing things, if you're serious about comparing products, what you would do is that you would make a list. And on your list, you would say, all right, so if I'm making a list out, I'll say, all right, so which list has Israelite homes? Like that'll be a line. All right, so which one has Israelite homes? Israelite artifacts of old relics of Israelite homes, the remains of Israelite homes. Next line would be, all right, which one has shekels? Where can you find shekels at? Because Israel moved in commerce, right? They're always buying and selling and doing all the other stuff. So where do you see that commerce at? That'll be a line that you either check it or you don't. And you'll go on down the road, right? Which area has the Most High's name? Where can you find the Most High's, or can you find the Most High's name in this area? Either you check it or you don't. Same thing. Keep going. Where can you find Torah? Where's the Torah? Where's the evidence of Torah written? In this place. Either you check it or you don't, right? And you go on. If you're serious about comparing one thing to the next, just want to put that out there. Anyway, right, let's keep going, family. So far we have these seals. And what I want to show you is that it wasn't just one seal, family. They're finding a whole bunch of seals, different people in different places. All these names that you can find in Scripture, right? Finding these different seals in different places. And then biblical king seal. So this is the seal of Hezekiah. And people, they're kind of wondering, it says Hezekiah on it, but then it has an Egyptian symbol on it too, but it has a Paleo Hebrew on it as well. So anyway, but that's King Hezekiah seal that they found as well. And then, like I was saying, family, as when the king of Assyria was, marching on Lachish, they were writing letters, right? Of course, you know about letters written on papyrus, but there were also letters written on pottery shards. And these are called ostraca. These were called ostraca. And they found, family, is all these ostraca, all these shards of pottery with ancient Hebrew writing on them. Not only do they have just ancient Hebrew writing on it, they have the name, some of these have the name of the Most High on them. Now, you might not be able to see it on the screen because this was, I apologize. I probably should have zoomed in on this one. But let me see if I can read it because it's even light on my screen. But these are what you're looking at, family. These are ostracan or pottery that has writing on it in Lachish, like when it was destroyed, right? Around the time it was destroyed. And it says, they have Yahweh, but it says, may Yahuwah cause my Lord to hear reports of good news this very day. And now, according to all that my Lord sent thus your servant has done. I have written upon the tablet according to all that you have sent to me. And with respect to what my Lord sent concerning the matter of Beth, I can't really read that name. I believe this is that in the scriptures, it talks about how Israel sent an envoy over to Egypt for help. What they're finding is that even on these pottery shards, they're talking about that envoy going over to Egypt in the pottery, written in ancient Hebrew. Like I said, where's the drip, family? Where's the drip? It says, there is no man there as for Shemakayu. Shemakayu was it's hard to read on this. I apologize, family. It's hard to read on my screen too. It's very light. It says something, seize him and taking him up to the city. Your servant cannot send the witness there today. And then the one on the right talks about those signifiers I was telling you about, those Lord of the Rings type signifiers, where it says, it is during the morning tour that he will come to you. Then it will be known that we are watching the signifier of Lachish according to the code which my Lord gives us. And it says, and we cannot see Ascah. So Ascah was the signifier that had gone out. So they saw that the Ascah signifier had gone out, which indicated that Assyria was advancing and that they were next. So again, family, this is like Lord of the Rings stuff. All right, family. Well, we're coming up on the end of this, family, but so far, just to kind of do a brief recap, just to show you that what we're doing, family, is that we're going through the archaeology, right? What we're going to do, we started off with Lachish today, just showing you that Lachish is more than just those wall sculptures that I've been going over, right? Lachish is seals. Lachish is pottery shards. The Taylor Prism, where back in Assyria, King Sennacherib, he over there writing a journal on a prism, talking about where he's been, what he's conquered, and it's basically a roadmap as to who he conquered and how he conquered them, and it showed how he conquered Israel, right? And so basically, you can extrapolate from that. You can extrapolate from the prism where people are located, right? So this is what I mean by when you're talking about Israel, when you're talking about, let me go back to my slide. Apologize for flashing it up on your screen here, family. I just want to show you this graphic. Is that when you're talking about Israel, it's connected to all these other nations. Their history too is talking about Israel. And just like this television that's connected to the sound system, that's connected to the speakers, that's connected to the Xbox and PlayStation and all this stuff, you can't move this television without moving everything else. You can't move Israel without moving everything else. Right? And that's why, and until you do, right, it's going to be an incomplete effort. So, and again, the options that lay before you, if you want to do that, if you so choose to do that, you will have to disconnect these histories. Like you have to unplug it from the television, right? Or you'll have to move them along with wherever you move Israel at. All right. So I'm just throwing that out there, family, because again, we have a couple of things that we're hopefully want to address. One is there are folks out there that say that Israel doesn't exist, that it's all made up, that there's no proof of Israel. But what I showed you is that that is all based off of their misinterpretation of the timing of Israel in Egypt. And it's a misinterpretation that they created, because they created and determined the time that they thought that Israel should be in Egypt. And then when they go and try to look for all these artifacts, then they can't find it. And they say, well, see, look, Israel's not here. Well, it's because they chose the wrong time, right? But there's artifacts there that show the people, a Semitic people in Israel, and everything that matches up with the scripture. All right. Well, family. Well, last but not least, family, I just want to leave you with this. And this is just want to leave you with Deuteronomy, and just to give you an idea of of our land of Israel and how it ties into the blessing and the curses. And, and how the curses at the end of the day they're going to govern our lives as being the children of Israel, whether it be following the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. When we follow the laws, statutes, most of the Most High, everything was great. You know how it goes, family. But when we didn't follow it, the bottom fell out and we were kicked out of the land. But just want to call your attention to what happened when we followed the Most High and what happened when we didn't follow the Most High. So check this out, family. This is Deuteronomy chapter 11, and we'll start at verse 10 and read down. And it says, "For the land, whether you goeth to possess it, it is not the land of Egypt, from whence you have came out, where thou sowest thy seed and watereth it with thy foot, as a garden of herbs. But in the land where you go to possess it is a land of hills and valleys, and drinketh water of the rain of heaven. A land which Yahuwah thy Elohim careth for. The eyes of Yahuwah thy Elohim are always upon it, from the beginning of the year even unto the end of the year. And it shall come to pass, if you shall hearken diligently unto my commandments, which I command you this day, to love Yahuwah your Elohim, to serve him with all your heart, with all your soul, that I will give you what? Rain of your land in his season, in his due season, the first rain and the latter rain, that thou mayest gather in thy corn and in thy wine and thine oil." So family, if we were supposed to do what we were supposed to do, the Most High would water our land and we would have an abundance harvest. We would bring in corn, wine, and oil, as you can see in verse 14. Let's keep reading, verse 15. "And I will send grass in thy fields and for the cattle, that thou mayest eat and be full. Take heed to yourselves, that your heart be not deceived, and you not turn aside and serve other gods and worship them." And let's keep going. It's, verse 16. So now we've read about the blessing, read about how if we follow the law, statutes, and the commandments of the Most High Yah, he was going to water our land. He was going to cause grass and corn and wine and all that stuff to be abundance in the land, crops and cattle to be abundant in the land. But let's see what happens when our forefathers turned aside. It says, "Take heed to yourselves that your heart be not deceived, and you turn aside and serve other gods and worship them." Verse 17, "And then Yahuwah's wrath be kindled against you, and he shut up the heaven, that there be no rain." So basically, family, when we turned away from the Most High, instead of getting that latter and the former rain, now the rain stops. It says, "And that the land yield not her fruit, lest you perish quickly from off the land which Yahuwah gave you. Therefore shall you lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall teach them your children, speaking of them when thou sittest in thy house, and when thou walkest by the way, when thou layest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of thine house and upon thy gates, that your days may be multiplied in the days of your children in the land which Yahuwah sware unto your fathers to give them, as the days of heaven upon the earth." Hallelujah. Now I'm I guess I can just read 22. It says, "For if you shall diligently keep all these commandments, which I command you, to do them, to love Yahuwah your Yahuwah, to walk in all his ways, and to cleave unto him." Well, I guess I can't stop there. So let me go over to my web browser. I'm just going to try to find that was it 26? Let's see. Oh, that was 23. It says, then Yahuwah, I'm just going to read it. I don't have it on the screen, family. It says, then Yahuwah will drive out all these nations from before you, and you shall possess greater nations and mightier than yourselves. Every place whereon the soles of your feet shall tread, you shall be yours. From the wilderness of Lebanon, hallelujah. Where's Lebanon at? From the wilderness and Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even unto the uttermost sea shall your coast be. And you know that there's a lot of stuff that's going on with Lebanon right now, especially with the Medes, hashtag Iran and Israel. And it says, let's see, it says, there shall no man be able to stand before you. Oh, glory to the Most High. It says, there shall no man be able to stand before you. For Yahuwah, your Elohim, shall lay the fear of you and the dread of you upon all the nation that you shall tread upon. And he has said unto you. Hallelujah. All right. Well, I guess that's a good place to close down shop on. Hallelujah. Well, all right, Ms. Bacot. Well, hopefully, if you're looking for the scripture on that, that was Deuteronomy chapter 11. Now, I think I stopped at like verse 25, I think. So that's where it was. But all right, Ms. Bacot. Well, that's it. Again, we're most high willing. What we'll do is that in these next videos, we're going to go over archaeology. We're going to go over and show you things like pottery and seals and show you where the Most High's name is written and stuff like that. So today we kind of focus a little bit on Assyria. Maybe next time we'll take a look at either Egypt or Babylon. I'm not sure which one we'll go to. And just a FYI, I haven't forgotten about I had a 1619 a follow-up video due on that, but didn't seem, well, we'll see. I may do that tomorrow. We'll see. I think I have something on the schedule for tomorrow evening, but we'll see. Either I may do that tomorrow or I'll do it Monday or Sunday or Monday, one of those days. So just to kind of finish it out and close it out. But that's it, family. So thank you, Ms. Bacot, for dialing in. Hopefully everyone has a great Shabbat and just you're able to rest and get healed, and maybe the blessing of the Most High rest upon Israel and protect Israel. Hallelujah. All right. Shalom, family.
Shalom, family. It's time. It's time to put the finishing touches on that perfect cut. It's time to load up the van and gather the family for a road trip. For the road to Charleston, South Carolina. This November the 15th through the 17th in Charleston, South Carolina, the African Israelite Justice Foundation is hosting a conference. A gathering of kings and queens of Israel. A revealing of hidden Hebrews. To reclaim our history, our heritage, and through the grace and mercy of the Most High Yah, become empowered to victory. It is a conference where you will hear legal counsel, professional advice, history, music, and above all, prayer. Will the kings and queens of Israel arise and heed the call of the shofar? Israel, we look